TV. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? So, a lot has happened, right? I mean, it seems like there's a framework. Yes, I'm cracking up over that. That actually made me laugh. Either way, it seems like the Greenland debacle might be diffusing, although I will still say that the whole situation is not complete. So that conversation might be kind of softening up, but that still leaves a whole bunch of distrust and volatility amongst world leaders, both economically and politically. So that's still a massive problem for our pockets, just not right now. But it proves to me that, okay, we have to add a risk to the list, because we just never know when somebody's going to go, oh yeah, that's right, tariffs. Because every time you go back and you look at every time tariffs are mentioned, the market tanks. I remember yesterday, I think it was yesterday and this morning, I both said, both days I said that the manipulation is real, right? I mean, if you know that when you do something, it's going to tank the market, and then you're going to do something else to make people not think about that, and then the market starts to come back, that says a lot. That says a lot, right? So it's a problem for me, because we can't put our finger on, it's not predictable. And I think markets like, to have things predictable. Rick Ritchie in his house, thank you for letting me know that you invested in yourself, sir. Greatly appreciate that, as you do some serious research. So yeah, I have a problem with the level of uncertainty. There's always a certain amount of uncertainty, right? That's fine. That's natural. It's the unnatural levels of uncertainty that we have now, because it causes self-inflicted wounds. Like right now, I don't know how we mend fences. I said that Davos was going to prove to be, an alienating space for the current regime. And it was. Even with everything kind of softening a little bit, it was still an alienating experience. I mean, you land in the middle of protests. That hurts our bags, because they've got, now things are off the table for now, but they had to go and figure out, do we have to pull an economic trigger? That's a problem, because it's still there. It can still happen. We cannot afford to misstep. We may have already misstepped again with China. Now, remember the last time a framework was announced? That framework was announced with regard to China. And China had promised that they were going to buy soybeans from the United States. Although a limited amount, it was still supposed to be a buy. That has not happened. They have not bought any. And I said back then that even with the amount that they said they were going to buy, it's still not even close to what they used to buy. And that could be a problem for our farmers. And guess what? They've bought nothing. And remember, how do farmers have to operate? They have to do everything in advance. They have to do everything in advance. That's the problem. That's not a small thing. Good evening, Paula. Thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself. Mr. Big, did you invest in yourself, sir? You have to say it. Tonight's question, and I hope people find this interesting. Tonight's question: what national food chain just introduced a Bitcoin bonus program for its employees? McDonald's, Shake Shack, Chipotle, or other? If it's other, drop it in the comments. So, yeah, I'm probably going to get yelled at later, and I'll take it. Mr. Big, go stand in the corner, man. Oh, Thank you for letting us know that you're invested in yourself. So a lot happened. I have another question tonight, and it's not a poll question. But, for all those that are investing in stocks, I announced yesterday that, no, I didn't announce, but I reported that, ARK Invest, Kathy Wood, had made an announcement about, what she's investing in: Tesla, Nvidia, blah, 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 blah. This was great stuff. But here's a problem. Hello, Rick Ritchie. Yeah, we'll get to that conversation a little bit later, and I'll let you guys know who's correct. But that's the question for today. Tesla is not the number one battery-powered electric vehicle manufacturer in the world. They lost that title earlier this month. That title now belongs to BYD. Tesla sold 1.64 million. BYD sold 2.26 million. Yeah. By that wide of a margin. That wide of a margin. So we're talking about leader in the world. We're not talking about leader in the United States, leader in Europe, leader, in this section, that section. No, the world. And I want you to stop and think about something. BYD is number one in the world, and they're not in the United States. They're not in the United States. They're barely in North America by being in Mexico. They're about to be in Canada, but they are not in the United States. They are number one in the world, and they're not in the most consuming market in the world, which is the United States. Stop there. I'm just saying. Imagine if they did come to the United States. What kind of competition would that be for Tesla? Let me put it blank. What kind of competition would that be for every single electric car manufacturer in this country? I spoke about it before, but it dawned on me because I just read another article, ARK Invest, Tesla. And I'm like, what? How? Now, I get it. It could be because Tesla makes batteries. They're not, they're trying to rewrite what they are. They're trying to say that Tesla is not you have to scroll up or refresh your screen, Paula. Tesla is not a car manufacturer. They're saying, well, Tesla is a technology company. And in a way, they are, right? They have Tesla batteries for the home, the Tesla charging stations. They are several businesses, not just one business. But how'd they start out? Car manufacturer. So what they're trying to do is everybody's trying to come together to kind of help Tesla pivot from car manufacturer over to something else. And that's what I find to be interesting. It's not that it's a bad buy by ARK Invest, so long as you accept their redefinition of the company. Now, the question becomes, is that a change in the business model of Tesla? The reason why I'm breaking this down is because a lot of people don't understand, how deep they should go when doing their research, right? Because the GMB3 is do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. So if you're breaking down Tesla, do you agree that they are not a car manufacturer? They're a technology firm, right? A technology firm that is selling cars? Because if that's the case, then I would say Tesla should get out of the car business, right? I mean, you can't trade in a Cybertruck. It's over $100,000 vehicle and you can't trade it in. Dead serious. And Mr. Big, we are not innovators. We are consumers. Depends on what we're talking about. It depends on what we're talking about. A lot of innovation still happens in the United States. We are still some of the most creative thinkers in the world. But we can't keep running around like we're the only creative thinkers in the world. You know what I mean? Because right now we're susceptible to certain things that happen within a market. It was proven that we were susceptible to cheaper steel prices coming into the United States via China. We're also figuring out that we are susceptible to lower or free artificial intelligence being dropped via China. My man Stanley, thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself. And now you're seeing cars via China. And here's the kicker. I don't think Japan is that far behind. Hydrogen cars, BEVs, battery electric vehicles, battery powered electric vehicles. So I'm sitting here and I'm just like, are we behind the curve, like Mr. Big says? I think one of the issues that we have is that we've turned into a country that likes to rest on its laurels. Hear me out. It means in a lot of cases we still innovate, but then we rest on our laurels. We sit there, collect money off of what's there, good enough. We're not in that constant Kaizen way of thinking, always improve, right? We don't necessarily do that. I think the first lesson I got was the transistor radio. You had for all us people that have, some white hair, you probably had a Panasonic, transistor radio when you were a kid, and you had that white, cable, that white little wire with the one earpiece because it was monotone. So you put the one earpiece in and you listened to music and stuff. You would get your groove on, right? And then here came Sony with stereo headphones. Whoa, the Walkman was no joke. And all they did was add another earpiece. You had stereo headphones. Everybody's jaw dropped over that. It was huge. It was a game changer. Boom, done. Why did that happen? Somebody in Japan looked at the idea and said mono, but stereo's better. How come we're not making mono work? And so they made, how come we're not making stereo work? Somebody made stereo work. And then they came out with the Sony Walkman. And then here's what's worse. Sony not only came out with the Sony Walkman at that time, but they already had a whole plan for improvements to the Walkman. And then while that was going on, they also had this other plan, the Discman, and improvements for that. And it just kept going from there. Constantly looking down the road on how to improve. Constantly. That was my first lesson in how the United States often rests on its laurels. Often. And then just example after example after example, especially in the automotive industry. Why should we let this manufacturer in? Because hydrogen tech is not new, by the way. Why should we let these manufacturers in that are doing those things, buy them up, make them go away in some way, shape, or form, and then that's it? Carried over into the financial industry with all the banks buying up all the smaller banks and saying, we're going to get rid of you. Don't worry, I'm tying it all together. I'm getting there. Spare me. Give me some leeway. So to your point, yeah, it's not that we don't innovate. It's that we become lethargic after that. We think it's good enough. I call it the Tony Stark syndrome, remember? I'm 10 years ahead of anybody else's technology, and then here came Whiplash with the same exact technology. Both of them built the tech in a basement, basically. And so we're seeing the same thing with BYD. BYD is saying, oh, that's a really good idea. because we have to do everything at scale in China. And so we actually need efficiency as a major component of everything that we do. Everything. To me, it goes back to the space race. The president says we need to get to the moon first. And what happened? We did. That's true. Now we let someone get there and we want to get better off their tech. Again, I still think that we are innovative, but we rest on our laurels. We come up with ideas, and then we might do the first version of the idea, and then we're the best. And we're not paying attention to others that might come along and do a better version of what we have. Push is gone. I would change it to hunger so everybody could kind of get it, right? We're just not hungry. We don't stay hungry. We make the achievement and then we don't stay hungry. We do the achievement. We want to make a lot of money off that one achievement and then get upset when somebody improves that one upon that achievement and starts making money. We want to change the rules to stop those people from doing it. Do you see where I'm going yet? Okay. So how is that being mirrored right now? Banking, fintechs, now crypto. Instead of the banks stepping up their game, they became lethargic. They bought each other out. They were just like, oh, we'll just buy that company. We'll buy that bank. Yeah, they have better tech, but we'll just shelve it. Yeah, they have better practices and procedures. We'll just shelve it. That happened a lot. That happened a lot in the banking industry. There used to be tons of banks. Now we have 4 major banks in the United States. 4. And you need to look at how those 4 became the top 4. Buy, buy, buy. Like that button that Kramer has. Buy, buy, buy. Yeah. That's how they did it. They bought you to get you the heck out of the way. We don't want to hear that you have a better way of doing it. Nah, skip that. We're going to buy you. They've even done it to fintechs. Oh, wow. You guys, oh, yeah, that's really, buy them and put that crap on a shelf. Or buy them and do such a poor job of integrating their technology. Yeah. Very few post-merger integrations have actually worked well in that in that space, right? Mr. Big, you still belong in the corner. I'm trying hard not to look down, but I just looked down and saw what you wrote. You're funny. I have too many flaws. Thank you, though. But I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this and I'm looking at all these things. And so I'm looking at Tesla repeating the past. I'm looking at the banking industry repeating the past. And it's not just Tesla. Because I can agree to Tesla being a technology company. I can easily agree to that because of where they are, what they're doing. I can absolutely agree to that. But the problem becomes, what about the rest of the automobile industry? Like I said, hydrogen power is not new technology. Electric is not a new concept. Go do some research on that stuff and you'll see that car companies that had that tech were just literally just blown away. Just get rid of them. And so you sit there and you're kind of like, wow. So what happens when the United States finally says, okay, fine, we'll let BYD in a little bit? Canada's about to have 40,000 BYD vehicles in their country. 40,000. That was the deal that they cut with China. You can't buy one in the United States, but can you imagine how many Canadians are going to drive across into the United States? And they'll be doing things like, yeah, this is come to me. The car will pull out of a tight parking spot and drive to you. And this is closing the doors. Yeah, bro. Yeah. And like I said the other day, it's not like we don't have this technology. There's nothing they're doing that we cannot do. So I have something on my desk called a switch box. It's a tiny little box, literally about that big, right? It's about 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. That box does Bluetooth, it does wireless, like it does a few things in that one box. Made in China. Here's what's hilarious though. Other companies sell something like that, except they have different versions. One for the Bluetooth, one for this, one for that. If you crack open the case, they're all the same. They've just turned off a couple of the services, a couple of the features. We're thinking like that, to squeeze out as much from that stone as possible, to maximize profits. Go out to the store and buy a new washing machine, new dryer, new refrigerator, new heating system, new hot water heater. They're not going to last 20 years the way they used to. Why is that? Because they're made to break instead of made to last. You wonder why things cost so much. It's because we're wasteful. We're wasteful. I would rather spend a couple of more bucks to get something that's going to last me 20 years, especially for something that's going to be in your house. Right? My house is, wow. My house is over 60 years old. And it was only a few years ago that we got rid of everything. Well, a few years into us buying it, we got rid of everything. The original stove was there. The original refrigerator was there. The original sink was there. Like everything was original. It was painful getting rid of stuff. We donated a lot, right? Because it was still working. It was just ugly. But then you run to the store, you go buy all this stuff, and none of that stuff lasts. Problem. So when I look at everything now, from a financial perspective, I'm looking at the banking industry. Here's the story from David Sachs. David Sachs says, if you look at traditional finance and crypto, they're going to wind up merging into a digital asset industry. I've been saying that. The great consolidation and culling of the whole financial space. I've been saying, I think that there are big banks that can go away. Like that. In a heartbeat, they can go away. Right now, traditional finance, put crypto to the side for a second. Put that to the side for a second. What you've got right now, New York Stock Exchange coming out of nowhere, off the top rope, landing on every bank's neck that you could think of. Because they're tokenizing things. They're getting things done. They're doing 24/7 settlements. What now? Yeah, they're doing 24/7 settlements. That was huge news the other day, but it flew under a lot of radars. Yes, I reported it. Yes, I said it, but it flew under the radar for a lot of people. Why is that? Because we had other news that was sucking up all of the oxygen. So everybody was hyper-focused on those topics. And remember, most people can only juggle 3 things at a time. That's why when you see somebody juggling and they've got more than 3 things at a time, everybody's standing there like, wow. Dead serious. You know it's true. You're juggling 3 balls. Oh, that's nice. You could juggle. That's cute. Can you do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? That's the big deal. That's what gets you. So we can only remember but certain things at the top of your brain. And so when you sit there and you really start to break things down, you're like, oh man, that flew under the radar. What else flew underneath the radar? Now you know why every day I say it like several times, and I know it's annoying, and I apologize. Not really. Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. That's the only way that you're going to come across those tiny little things that nobody else is talking about. CNBC said BYD is number one in the world. Then it got picked up. This was news January 6th. And then the Wall Street Journal comes out with an article today talking about, oh yeah, by the way, China's number one. And I sat there, and they want to charge you for that. Not saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying that they want to charge you for news that came out weeks ago. Okay, interesting. Bite me, bruh. I'm not trying to buy your paper if you're going to give me news that came out days ago, a week ago. I need it now. I need it to be actionable now. You're going to tell me about it when somebody else already reported it? It's already been on national TV? Again, but got swallowed up because of other things. Remember when I told you guys you need to keep a list of all of the risks as well as all the opportunities? Everybody thought I was joking. I'm not. So do you see how we began the show with what's going on with Tesla? Example from the past about how we're doing that, right now in the banking industry, right now in the automobile industry. There's not a thing that BYD is doing that American companies cannot do. They just don't. Why is that? Oh, because they'd rather charge you monthly subscriptions, right? So they can squeeze as much money out of you as possible. As much money out of you as possible instead of selling you quality. Let me sell you quality. You'll wind up coming back to me because the battery's dead and you'll need to swap out your battery. Why do I have to make it so that you can't change your own battery? I had an old Benz. It was a 2000 Benz E430. Love that car. Oh my God. Oh, it's like a piece of candy. I changed my own battery. When it was time to change the battery, I changed my own battery. You can't do that in the new cars now. Well, in the new electric vehicles now. Because the way they have it set up. In my old Benz, they had a little screw cap for my headlights. My headlights went out. And I was like, oh, snap. And I can I'm a big dude. I was able to get my whole hand in there, turn it, pull it out, take it out, put a new one in, put it back, and do it like that. I got my new Benz. Yeah, it was way hard. Actually, it wasn't the Benz. It was another car in the family. And it was hard. It was an American car. And it was hard to change the front light. I think it was a Buick Enclave. What? It was hard to get. You have to undo this to undo that to get to this, to get to that, to do this for the simplest thing. For the simplest thing. Say what now? Have you looked at some of these light kits? Some of these light kits, you've literally got to take apart the whole car to get to the light. And you're not just changing the bulb the way you used to back in the day. You're changing the whole light kit. Yeah. I'm looking at you, Porsche. So when you look at how things are being manufactured in the United States, they're not being manufactured the way they used to. Remember that woman with remember that? Everything was made with quality, high quality. It wouldn't leave the factory unless it was high quality. You don't have that now. And you could look at almost any industry out there, and say, wow, slacking. Deloitte got caught out there a couple of times. What happened with Deloitte? Oh, they had AI scandals. 600, it was like some ridiculous millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for work that they were doing. And it was AI slop. AI slop from Deloitte. What? That's unheard of. AI slop. You have kids in high school getting caught using ChatGPT or whatever LLM they're using to do their reports, and teachers were catching them. Y'all weren't smarter than that high school kid? Say what now? Huh? What? Come on. Not once, but twice. I think it was like within the span of a couple of months. Bam, bam. 2 body punches. Yeah. One was like a couple of weeks ago. I think it had something to do with a report that they were doing for a municipality in Canada or something like that. What really crits my grits, it's insurance. They want me to pay attention to monthly payments for something that may happen but may not happen, so they can squeeze more money from me just in case. That's true. And it's horrible. Give me a moment. I'll tap into that. Then if it happens, they can deny me. Yep. Any insurance, car insurance. In the United States, what I think the biggest scam is, all of these insurance companies that are selling you insurance for your older cars. The amount of money that they want you to spend on that insurance, you should take that money and put it into a soft liquid fund, right? Put it in crypto, put it in something, high yield, whatever, the blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Put it someplace other than giving it to that insurance company. Because they make it sound like, oh, it's really cheap. Yeah, it's really cheap because the coverage is really cheap. It really is. You should just put that, for the amount of money that you have to spend on real coverage for those older make vehicles, you should take that money and invest it, because you'd be able to pay for it anyway. It's called self-insurance. You're self-insured. Something happens, you pay for it. But I'm going to give all that money to a company that's not doing anything, that's charging you a heap load of money. That is the biggest, I think that's the biggest like racket, or one of the biggest rackets in this country is insurance. You buy an EV, there are no moving parts. It's drive-by-wire. You're spending 3 times as much money on insurance. So all the savings that you're getting, well, for maintaining the vehicle over time, you're paying in insurance. The only good thing is that you do come out ahead, because I'm not paying for gas. I'm paying less for electricity. Me personally, because I also have solar. I only charge up at night. Got 3 EVs in this family. 3. You know how joyous it is to drive by people, have to stop off at the gas station, and I just keep on moving. And along the way, there are places where I could plug in, charge up. There's new technology with regard to the batteries that are more solid state, that are 2 times as efficient as what's there now, and smaller. So literally, it's only like 2 or 3 times the size of a normal battery. You should be able to change that yourself. I bet you they won't build it like that, though. You need to do your own research. Bob Franklin, what's up? Have you invested in yourself today? Mr. Big, I wouldn't say mob, but I would say, old boy network. That's the old boy network. Max Salas, have you invested in yourself today? I need you to say it. I need both of you to say it. Yes, I have invested in myself today. There's a reason why I have you guys say it. Don't slip. Say it and do it. Live by it. In order for you to survive, you're going to have to invest. Your first investment is in yourself. Old money. Oh no, Mr. Big, it's not just old money. It's old money and old connections. Old money and old connections. My girl A pause. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself today. That's how it works. The affluent marry the affluent. The affluent marry the affluent. Like, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what's drilled into their head. Paul meets Susie. Susie's such a good girl. Paul is a doctor. I mean, I'm laughing, I'm giggling, but those conversations happen. Those conversations happen. And so it stays there. The old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've been doing it this way for 50 years. Yeah, there are better ways now. And thank you for letting us know you invest in yourself. Dark horse. Yep. And why are you greening on me? Because she pays on YouTube. That's what I'm talking about. You cashed out of XMR? What? Oh my God, you're going to make me pass out. Hold on a second. I've got to hold this together. Not judging. I'm just shocked. It's the shock that's getting me. There will be a change. There will be a change. Right now, I'm waiting for a word from my guys that we're pushing the new services onto the site. The new services will be notifications, mentioning of people, DMs. Yeah. A whole bunch of stuff is being introduced on the site right now. We're testing right now. We're still testing, but we might actually push it up either tonight or tomorrow. That's what's going on. That's what's going on right now. So once we do that, that's when everything is going to be the first place is everything is going to be at growmybag.tv. Yes, we will still have YouTube videos, but commentary, it'll be a little while after that. All the commentary will happen over on growmybag.tv. We're doing big things. We're doing really big things. Not sleeping on anything. Not sleeping on anything. Calling things out for you and doing all the research and all that good stuff. It's fun stuff. We enjoy it. It's not unlike what we normally do for a living, which is consult clients. We do the same thing for them. But every time we do the research, we come up with, the similarities between this point in time, this point in time, this point in time, this point in time. And you start to realize, wow, resting on our laurels is hurting us. Remember when how I always talk about, no, I did not. Do you know how I'm always talking about, not just doing your own research in the GMB3, not just that stuff, not just, recording your own risk register, right? All the risks that can affect your portfolio and all the opportunities that can affect your portfolio, not just creating your risk framework. Some people call it their gut. Not just creating that. Not just creating those things. It's all of that. It's all of that. There are certain things that you just need to do every day, or you just lose practice. You lose the mindset. Like when I don't do a show on Saturday, I'm still doing my research on Saturday. As a matter of fact, I've done enough research that I could release articles. Sometimes I do. Sometimes the team does. But I do it because that's when things happen. People forget that investing is a 24/7 living, breathing thing. So age is up before we are, right? If you just go around the world, they're up before we are, we're up before them, they're up before us. And you start to realize, holy moly, news is going to happen. News is going to happen. And you need to be able to react to that news. That's what I try to get people to do. And creating that community where there are if you're paying attention, there are lots of conversations that are going on right now that have nothing to do with me. have nothing to do with me. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to continue those conversations even when we're not watching a video? We find news, real news that's going to affect our bags, that's actually going to affect our bags, and be able to share it with our community. Wouldn't that be awesome? To go someplace where I might be able to find a class that I actually like, that I want to take. Yes, I have a couple of classes that are coming up. I have 2 classes. One is going to be how to buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses. And there'll be a separate group from that. So the same way that the Big Baggers is one group, there'll be another group for SMBs and solopreneurs. And then classes. The next class is going to be, we're bringing back how to do your own research. Because I'm realizing that a lot of people read, but they're not necessarily researching, and there's a difference. There's a difference. I was consulting a client the other day, and I walked them through what news is and how news happens, the progression of news. I don't just watch the Asian markets first. I watch everything. I watch everything. Not everything that happens in Asia is going to filter across to the United States immediately. It could be a day or two, but we knew about it because we were looking for it. What happens in South America? South America was doing tokenized real estate before us. Yeah. Tokenized and fractional. Wow. And I was like, ooh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty slick. That is pretty slick. And then we brought it to the United States. I was working with a global real estate company. And I said, you guys should get into this. You guys should absolutely get into this. And they laughed at me. They laughed at me. I'm like, They're not laughing so much now. This company was leaving so much money on the table, it wasn't even funny. Mr. Big, have a good night, sir. That's the only reason why you're out of the corner is because you got to go. Otherwise, you'd still be in the corner, young man. Making me crack up. But yeah, we've got to pull all these things together. The U.S. Senate Agriculture Committee planned to release its version of the Digital Asset Markets Clarity Act at some point in January, facing challenges, and it could be a little bit later, but they're still hoping to get it done in January. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think the most telling thing, not the most telling thing, but one of the most telling things that came out of Davos so far has been obviously, the U.S. backed down. Some people might call it taco, but the U.S. backed down and took things down a notch or two, right? But something else that probably a lot of people are letting slip underneath the radar is David Sachs said exactly what I've said. The different facets of the financial sector are going to wind up merging into a single sector. And it will be a digital asset-backed sector or driven sector. Period. Something else that happened that was announced last year, September last year, right? So third quarter, China's going to start or has started courting friendly nations to store their gold starting in Shanghai. Wow. Who else performs that service for the world? Interesting, right? Do you think Iran will declare war? I think Iran has too much of an internal problem to declare war on anybody. Actually, I believe they've already declared war against Israel and the United States. But they can't reach. They can reach Israel. They can't reach us. And we could press a button and glaze some sand. And we have a regime that's itching for something like that to happen. Itching. It's disgusting when you actually stop and think about it. Will that affect oil? I think Iran is in for a major change. No matter what they do internally, I think they're in for a major change because it's been brewing for years. A lot of years. It's just been brewing and brewing and brewing and brewing and brewing. The old ways are not working anymore. What are people doing in Iran? I said it the other day. People in Iran are moving from their local fiat, the rial, and moving over to crypto. As a matter of fact, give me one sec, Control F. Iran's central bank secretly amassed $507 million in USDT to save the rial. It's one of the articles that we published tonight. They can talk a lot. They can't do a lot. Feel me? They can run that mouth, but they can't run them hands. Facts. Facts. Who are they going to declare war with? Where they can actually win? Are you kidding me? Yeah, nah. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. They could. Like I said, I think they might have officially already declared war against the United States and Israel. But there's not anything really that they can do. Their own people don't like them. That's why I'm saying I think they're in for a world of change, which is going to change the outlook of the world. There are a lot of things going on. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates used to be friends, fighting alongside each other in Yemen. And then all of a sudden, they became enemies. Problem. And the Saudis are not our friend. I don't know why we treat them like friends. They're not our friend. They have nuclear capabilities, sort of. They have the components. I would be worried that those components would go someplace else. So I'd be mindful of that. There are a lot of places that would love to have those components. But those are political. I'm only worried about how that would affect oil. How would that affect my bag? Other than that, I don't care. Those are politics for a different show. I only care about what would happen in Iran that would affect my bag. Well, if there's a regime change in Iran, everybody wants freedom, right? So if there's a regime change in Iran, that could literally have an effect on the world order. There are a lot of components that go into the world order, and that would be a big change. Huge economic change. Because if there was a change in Iran and then all of that oil came online, now you see where I'm going. Imagine if Iran stopped paying for terrorists. That would be huge economically, a huge economic impact globally. Not small. That's big. That would absolutely affect my bags. I don't think nationally. I think internationally. So many people think, well, I'm not wealthy. I'm not going to think like them. I can't move like them. So why should I waste my time like that? When I was a kid, I went window shopping with my mom. She would be sure to take me window shopping like damn near every Friday. I'd meet her down at her job and we would just walk around Manhattan, when it wasn't inclement. And we would just literally just window shop. And every now and then, Mom would get a big fat bonus and we'd go on a shopping spree. I used to love mom shopping sprees, but I digress. The idea was that it is beneficial to you to be aware, even if you can't do that right now, just the knowledge that things exist, the existence of things that are even out of reach. It's better, opens up your mind. So even though I can't do this, I can still see it. I know it's real. I know it can happen. So why should I aim down here when I can aim for this? Because that's a reality. You know, based on my definition of enough. But the more I know, it doesn't mean that I want it. It just means that I know that it exists. Wow, that's a really nice suit. Little kid saying that's a really nice suit. Because now I know it exists. Which means that if I can dream it, it can happen. That's what it taught me. If I can dream it, it can happen. Look at the Apple Watch, Dick Tracy. Look at doors that automatically open when you get close to them. Star Trek. Being able to scan things real quick when they go by. Yeah. All those things in comic books were just other people's thoughts and ideas. Back to innovation in this country versus other countries making improvements on our innovations and then eating our lunch all day, every day, and leaving dirty dishes. I gave you the example of the monotone transistor radio and, done by Panasonic. And then who else? Oh, that's right. Sony comes along with the Walkman and blows everybody out the water because it has stereo headphones. Blew people's minds. If I can think it, I can make it exist. Man couldn't fly at one point. Men and women can fly now. Just saying. Things that we need to take into consideration. Things that we really need to take in consideration. That's why I say do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. Throughout this whole evening, I gave you examples of how things are working, how things are playing out right now, and how today's news plays all into it. Go look at the articles today. I hit most of the points that are there. I mean, I didn't hit certain things like, where is it? PNC Bank. PNC Bank expanded to a national institution through the $1.6 billion acquisition of First Bank. They're planning to spend $2 billion in branch investments and $3.5 billion annually in tech. I told you guys before when they cut that deal with Coinbase that PNC was about to slap the snot out of the big banks because they were a multi-regional bank. They weren't national. They were just multi-regional. Now they are national. Within the span of what? 4 or 5 months? They went from being multi-regional to being national. A national bank that can do digital assets because of their deal with Coinbase. Not just a custodial deal, but a technology back and forth. We can move your fiat in and out deal. Yeah. Name another big bank that's doing that right now. Ta-da. There's a guy who started out washing RVs for the rich folk. I know somebody who does that for a business. They detail everything, cars, boats, yachts, obviously, and airplanes. Like this guy details everything. Now he's a consultant and helps sell $1 million RVs to them. Cleaning them, you get to see everything. You get to know the mechanics. You get to see what's good, what's bad. I've been looking at RVs. You could buy an RV that expands to be basically a 1-bedroom apartment. Sides come out. I mean, those are mad expensive, but they're less expensive than a house. They're less expensive than certain rent. If you live in New York, they're less expensive for the rent. Like for real. New York, rents are ridiculous now. They're absolutely ridiculous. But there are opportunities out there. And sometimes you just need to string them along. Tonight's conversation was all about being able to take information and string it all together. These otherwise unrelated points strewn all over the place, little pearls of information that I was able to bring to you as a package, and they all went together to make a nice, beautiful pearl necklace. Go clutch your pearls. Brings new meaning to the term, doesn't it? Go clutch your pearls. Anyway, everybody, the question: what national food chain just introduced a Bitcoin bonus program for their employees? McDonald's, Shake Shack, Chipotle, or other? Yeah, I was messing with everybody. It's Steak and Shake. I thought the similarity in names would mess with everybody, and it did. 58% of you said it was Shake Shack, and it's actually Steak and Shake. It matures over time. It's about 21 cents per hour, something like that. It's a low number, but it's still something that it's a bonus program, meaning they didn't have to give it to you. How cool is that? How cool is that? Oh, they're doing it because they get people like me to talk about it, because how cool is that? Sort of like your 401k when they match your investment. They don't have to do it, but they are. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you enjoy what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes. And if you can, go over to GrowMyBag.tv, read some of those articles that we drop every day. We drop anywhere between 25. I knew I would almost get you. That's because you went and you looked it up, smart Alec. But if you like what I'm doing, smash the likes. And if you can, go over to GrowMyBag.tv, become a member, because membership has its benefits. We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot coming for you. We're going to reintroduce learn how to do your own research as a class. It'll be live as well as online, self-paced. We're about to do the small business masterclass on learning how to buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses. That will be a live class, and then we'll develop that to also be self-paced, where you'd be able to log in and be able to do it yourself. Along with that class, we're also going to be introducing that small business and entrepreneur group on the site. So the same way big baggers have their own space, that group will have its own space. How cool is that? I told you, we're not playing games over here. I mean, we're playing games, but when it comes to this, we're dead serious. Anyway, everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and absolutely thank you for your trust. We will work for that every single day. Have a good night, everybody. See you tomorrow morning on the daily at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.